It's you. It's you, Hugh.
Where have you been all my life?
Oh my God, it's been a long summer. It's not even summer anymore.
I just saw you out there. I was thinking, who's that guy? That tall bloke.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that was a long summer.
It was. I feel like we've just sort of starting again now.
How was Japan?
Japan was good. I have a small gift for you.
Do you know what? I don't know where I put that small gift.
Yeah.
Can I open it?
Well, yeah, I hope it's actually really your children might like it more than you. Well, you and Kelly can have some of them.
Let's have a look.
Ta-da.
I accepted it with two hands as well.
Yes, very good. I offered it with two.
Oh, wow. These look delicious.
Little sweets from Osaka.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was my summer. What was yours? What were you doing?
Busy. Went to Spain for a bit, which is nice, with some friends, which is very nice. Yeah. Spent a bit of time on the south coast with mother.
Yes.
And work.
Yeah. And football, your team had a very lucky result
against United.
Yeah. Should have been five or six.
Lucky for it not to be more.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
I think we should probably not talk about football too much, but because we've got Jexy in today, who's an Arsenal fan, and I just really don't want to relive that game either. But
no.
It feels like for both United and Spurs, it's been like, I think we'll be all right, and then, oh my God, we're utter shit.
Yeah, and it's I think we're utter 14th shit.
No, but we have the same problem as where we have neighbours who are probably going to win something this year.
So let's not talk about football. Forget it. Well, it's lovely to see you. I'm very excited. I want us to do more of this.
Flapjacks are in.
Flapjacks are in, and there may be a rumour some Jaffa cakes might come today, because today we've got Andy Jex, lovely man, really really lovely guy, actually very sweet. He's at TBWA now, but I've known him for a long time.
Do loads of work with TBWA as well, so it'd be good to talk.
Yeah, no, and it's sort of like Nissan-y stuff you've done with him, right? And Jaffa cakes. Yeah. So yeah, and Jexy's got loads and loads of stories. I think it's going to be really interesting. So I'll go and get him, shall I?
Yeah.
All right, bye. Andy Jex, or Jexy, as you're most commonly known, Chief Creative Officer at TBWA London. Welcome behind the billboard.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Fan of the show. It's an honour.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming on. I imagine I know you're really busy. You're always busy. But it does seem a bit... I'm looking at Dan as much as you, because I haven't seen him as much as I haven't seen you. We haven't been here for so long.
Yeah.
So
welcome back. New season.
Yeah, new season.
Whole new season. We were literally just talking about football before we started.
Yeah, so. That's why we're laughing, because I'd love the season to start again for my team. Your teams are doing a bit better.
Well, I don't know, that's Spurs. Arsenal doing fine.
Yeah, full transparency. Andy's a Gooner, and Dan's obviously a Spurs fan. I'm a United fan, so we're going to move on from football straight away. Andy,
we're literally in that order as well. It's the right order to do it in the moment.
We're going to talk about many things today. We're billboards, obviously, but we're trying to try and squeeze in a couple of TV ads. You did, because you've done a lot of great TV as well. And obviously we're going to talk a bit about North London and who's the best team and all that. But we're going to do our special feature, Jexy Facts. Jexy Facts, which is basically a rip-off from Adam Buxton. Mm-hmm. Just in case if he ever listens.
He's just written 4 things down here that you can either say that are correct, or you go, I'm not sure about that.
So this is where we embarrass you. So Jexy's one of the UK's most awarded creatives. He's won every show in the world, including 19 D&AD pencils. His work is populist, effective, and it doesn't just win awards, it is adored by none other than his mum. I hate adverts, she says, apart from the adverts Andy does. Well said, Mum. I just love that. EE, Adidas, Harvey Nichols, Nissan, Stella Artois, BBC, Sony, Pot Noodle all agree with Andy's mum. They've all benefited from Andy's creativity over the years. And if that isn't enough, he's rumoured to have held the world record for building the longest Scalextric track. Is all of that true?
Start with the Scalextric track. That was true. That got beaten by James May.
Oh, really?
After we had it.
Okay.
But we did have it, yes.
It was something to do with Nuts magazine.
It was...
the thing at Mother you...
Yes, Zoo magazine.
Sorry, there you go.
Weeklies,
branding.
The weeklies that came out after Loaded.
FHM Loaded, yeah.
Yeah, but we did a campaign where we gave, rather than spend the money on advertising, we gave 10 grand to 2 creatives at the magazine to go off and do what they wanted to do with it. One was build the biggest Scalextric track in the world.
How big was it?
I can't remember how many miles it was long. But it took a lap was a long while.
Really?
Yeah, it was a cup of tea, a lap.
And the other question I have on your facts is, can we get your mum on the Cannes Lion jury? Because, I mean, you're already one of the most awarded creatives in the industry, but that would smash it all, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
She loves the work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what she'd make of the Cannes jury.
Or the Cannes experience, maybe. She'd just enjoy it.
Should we not be having a behind the billboard mums special? Because like Nicola Wood was going on about her mum or her nan.
Nan, I think.
So you could have creatives' mums.
But it's a question we ask all the time, right? When we get to the first billboard question.
Yeah.
Did you go and see it? Right. Take your mum.
So Andy, we have to do the old. So how are you, and what are you doing at the moment? You know, is there anything you want to sort of excite us with about TBWA, or any projects you're doing which you're enjoying? Or
I mean, I've just brought you a little. Maybe we'll do that later, shall we?
No, let's do it now.
No, we're looking at it.
I brought you in a Jaffa cakes, the new cola bottle flavour. We've been working on those. We've launched those recently.
Because that's what the world's been waiting for, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think,
Cake or biscuit?
Russell. Well, what we're going to do, because I've got...
What have you got?
I've got homemade flapjacks, which we can eat.
Oh, you're going to do the cake or biscuit thing?
So we're going to do a live taste late. We're going to do it now?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, right.
Especially for John Jones, who's editing this, who's going to hear us.
Right. So I'll try one of those.
Cool.
Sorry, John. So, you know what these taste like, Andy? Do you?
Yeah, I've tasted one of those.
Right.
It tastes like cola bottle.
Oh, my God. It tastes like...
A chocolatey cola bottle.
So are you getting that, John? John's our engineer has to edit this. Andy, would you like... Well, you can have a...
Is a flapjack a biscuit?
Right, so...
Or is it a cake? I don't know.
Could you do an advertising campaign based around something being a biscuit or a cake? I don't know if you could, really.
I don't think it can be done. Should be, though.
Classic cola bottle flavour.
I've got to say, that is not as silly as it seemed. I quite like that.
I quite like that as well.
Kind of makes sense.
Did you say cola makes sense? Sorry.
Oh, no.
Right, okay.
But that's also a rite of passage. You get to have one of Hugh's flapjacks.
I'll have one of those later on.
It's a very nice flapjack.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a cake or a biscuit, though.
No. But I'll tell you what it's got in it that's extra.
Go on.
Ground almond and a little bit of salt. So
Really?
It's not just a traditional recipe. I used to put in coconut
and cherries,
and then we had to pull back because we'd overstretched the brand.
It's got a nice crunch to it.
Yeah, but not to come too crunchy. It needs a little salt.
I'm a fan of a raisin in a flapjack, though.
Yeah,
I like a raisin flapjack.
But then don't they sort of get too baked? I don't want a hard raisin, do I?
No, you need a soft raisin. Well,
what you don't want is a raisin that rises to the top and gets burnt.
Oh, God.
Burnt raisin.
Anyway, welcome to the Great British Bake Off.
Right.
Podcast edition.
Right. So we're saying, Andy, how are you? What have you been up to? We're now going to jump straight in and talk about...
Well, hold on. You've been up to Jaffa Cakes, which you've helped launch.
Okay, Jaffa Cakes.
Tell us about
tell us about Jaffa's
campaign.
Yeah, just loosely, because I'm going to talk about it later, but this is the latest news on Jaffa Cakes.
Oh, we've just launched Jaffa cola bottle flavour. We had a big special build that was kind of Willy Wonka-esque, of it all sort of like, being made live there, where people could get them from the bottom of the...
Oh, really? Like a freebie
thing?
Thing?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And a few sort of out-of-home and social videos that went with it.
Was, dare I, I'm looking at you now. Were you involved?
Yes,
young
we
Dawson?
were, yes. Well, not me personally, but yeah, my team were, absolutely.
It's brilliant. Did either of you know about that?
No. Not until it went up. It went on our socials.
We found a few other connections since we've been here with the world.
All the Nissan work as well. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, it's all joined up. It's an industry that's really joined up. Yeah. So, Dan, over to you to take us into our next section.
Regular segment, billboard at the end of my street. And, that's the idea, as you may remember from listening, is... getting an understanding of what you see on your journey, but also we kind of use it as a catalyst to talk about the industry and what's going on right now.
What
you brought us?
We're looking at something. Can you describe what's this?
I don't have a lot of out-of-home sites near where I live, so it takes me to the train station is kind of my first one.
Right.
I mean, it couldn't be more local advertising than the Eastbourne College.
Which is a prep school?
Open day. I think it's just a standard sixth form college.
Right, okay.
We've had worse.
I mean, This section seems to be the section of like talking about how dire most out of home seems to be. Probably from what I've seen on other ones, it's probably not quite as bad as
Not
many.
as bad, yeah.
Can you read out the headline?
Discover a new path, it says.
And then
With two young students kneeling down, taking notes amongst the nature of the South Downs. Open morning, Saturday, 5th of October. Okay. The end line, unlock their extraordinary.
Ooh, see what they did?
Yeah.
When did you take this photo?
That was at Lewes train station.
And this week?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what? I mean...
Do you mean it's like, are you suggesting that it's like the open day's gone already?
Yeah. That's the only thing that annoys me about this thing. Local advertising it helps power our industry, right? And I think it's really important that a brand like Eastbourne College is able to advertise to the local market their wares. So they'll take this train station and probably 3 or 4 others on the similar path into London.
Yep.
But you know, the whole thing is that for them, the advertising is saying, we've got an open morning, we really want you to come and experience everything that Eastbourne College has. And, you know, as a media owner or as an industry, we should be saying to them, okay, fine, from the 5th of October, we're going to change that creative for you. And we're going to say, you know,
it's
contact
weird,
us for a private look around the
but
college.
If it was
right?
if it was Dave Trott, he would have he could take those sheets off, wouldn't he? And he'd put something else.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember he did that for the LWT?
Yeah.
But the handy thing about that one is you don't get many paste up 48 sheets like that, and you don't get hardly any that you walk past and touch at that level either, because that's at street level.
Yeah.
You could actually change that date.
Do you know what? It's not... you know, it's got a nice photo and there's the same typeface throughout, and they have thought about it. You know, the headline is a bit bigger than the subline.
Is this in contention to win this category? Is there such a thing?
I'll tell you what, it's the leader in the new season. There you go.
Oh my God! So we've got 2.
Is this the first in the new season?
So we've got the mum special.
It's a bit like winning the first game in the Premier League, and you see,
yeah, we're going to win it.
Top of the league.
Okay, moving on. What else we got next? My first billboard.
Well, I'd forgotten all about this.
Yeah.
In rooting around and researching for this, I found this, and I think this was actually it.
Could you read it out? Or I'll read it. Great pasta, 3 minutes from here, and there's an arrow. And what's the product?
Well, the product is a Knorr taste break. I would describe it as a pot noodle.
Yeah, I'd say it looks like a pot noodle.
I commonly say to people that one of the things I'm proudest of is doing what I call the dehydrated noodle double header, as in pot noodle and super noodle. What I've realised, I've actually done the treble.
No.
Because I've got this one as well.
Yeah.
So I've done the dehydrated noodle treble.
That should be up there with Scalextric's fact. We'll have to redo the fact.
That obviously plays off of the road signage of like drinks this way at that, and I love how kind of gritty it looks and basic it looks. Obviously it is, you know.
That's great.
It's that kind of golf sale.
Golf sale is exactly what it
Where
is.
did you if this is your first billboard, where did you do this?
We were at BNP DDB on placement still.
Yeah. You being
me and Rob Potsy,
who you met at Watford College.
Yeah, we did Watford.
Very good.
Yeah, and
I've got to say, as first posters go, that's pretty good. I mean, it's got that irreverent tone of voice of, you know, a bit Hal Henry at the time, maybe.
Was it a bus stop poster?
Yeah. It was. It was. There was another thing I found in doing this. You're going to flick onto. I found these and I was like, I don't quite understand what these are or why we did them.
Marmite.
And they're Marmite. We were imagine how excited we were to be working on Marmite. I mean, Love It or Hate It had been created a few years before. This obviously wasn't part of that. There's no sign of that on here. I don't know what the brief was or why we were doing it, but we ended up with lines like prettier but rubbish on toast, and you see a cute baby. I don't know what the point was. All I know it ran in Scotland and that was it.
Really?
I'm not sure if there was a brief around telling people how to eat it, put it on toast.
Love It and Hate It?
No, it was a couple of years after.
Right.
Or what I do remember about this was, bear in mind, we're on placement still. We'd never made any ads, let alone out at home. And we'd done this and it was going down well. And someone came into our room from the media company, the poster company, with 4 panels of a 6 sheet like life size, and we all stood down the end of the corridor to see if we could still read the copy okay. I thought, this is good. They must do this everywhere. I've never done that anywhere since. I thought, that was good. And when they did go up, and we all flew up to Scotland, I remember it well because it was my birthday. We got in a minivan, the whole account team, the creative team and everyone, and we went round the city and we went round past every single media site looking at all our work.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Do you know what? Couldn't read any of them. Copy was so small.
To be fair, I'm only about 6 inches from it and I can't read it.
I can't read it. And even when I can read it, I don't really understand it.
So did you have that tinge of disappointment when you're on that site tour going,
I thought, that's it. We've done it. We said, out at home, we've had a test in the corridor to make sure you can read it. We can't read it. We never get a job.
Well, look, you've done all right. You're still here, you know.
Still here,
yeah. Right. Okay. Well, look, that's I think, pretty good start, isn't it? We're gonna jump around a little bit, but it's mostly in chronological order. Timeline.
Yep.
Love timeline. So, Nando's, don't eat eggs. This was a campaign you did at Fallon. I remember particularly well. It was just so cool. It was so different. It was slightly ridiculous. But now in hindsight, I'm sort of looking back and thinking, right, is that line and that thought, was that from a planner, a strat thought, or was it from you and Potsy went, fuck it, why don't we do a thing about anti? How did that happen? Because I'm interested.
It wasn't in the brief. I can't tell you what the brief was. All I can tell you was what I remember about doing it was we handed a stack of A5 like that paper with I call them ideas, things on that we gave to Rich and Andy. They'd sifted through them all. Most of them had gone in the bin, but they'd landed on one that just said, don't eat eggs, they taste better when they're chickens. That was it. And they'd gone, it needed them to tell us that was the thing.
Yeah.
We didn't know, we just said it. And then they were like, I think they said, write that 4 different ways. So we tried to write that 4 different ways, which is exactly what we did.
So the one we're looking at, first one, it says no, and the O is an egg. And then underneath it, what does it say? An egg is a waste of a good chicken. It's just a really funny observation.
It's very odd. I mean, yeah. Nando's had just arrived in the UK.
I was going to say, were they quite fresh? So they weren't...
No one knew what they were, I don't think. They'd just come from South Africa.
And they were just an anti-egg company.
Well, I don't think they knew they were.
And they wouldn't use that anymore. They wouldn't say Nando's chicken restaurants.
Never.
They would just... It's just Nando's because they're established.
Yeah.
So you've got that.
I mean,
it doesn't. I mean, literally, it does. We sell chicken and nothing else, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't say what kind of chicken or how good the chicken is or anything like that. But I suppose a chicken restaurant wasn't a thing that was commonplace or in existence back then.
So on the look and feel as well. So they're kind of like information-y sort of posters as well. Was that you being art director, or did you give it to a designer like that I would have done in those days?
All of that is Adam Whitaker, art director, designer.
And who we've got here today? Adam, no.
And because, literally, he wasn't at Fallon at the time. He was freelancing.
Okay.
We'd given him those lines and he came back a week later with a load of runouts, all on newsprint, and we covered the floor at Fallon. I mean, I was like it was like my second big lesson in art direction because I was like, and I hadn't given him any direction. I didn't know how to. He'd just come back with this.
Wow.
So he'd taken that sort of information kind of post-war, pre-war thing, and done it and made it his own. And I was just completely bowled over by the way it looked. I was just like, I'd never have got anywhere near that doing that myself. So inspired and amazed by what he did. And he completely sort of made that what it is.
How come was he not in? It was because Fallon was in its sort of inception at the early years, right?
Yeah.
So were they bringing people in a bit like that using?
I think it was probably Rich Flintom's decision to bring someone in to sort of. We may not have had. I think the agency was about 10 people at the time. We may not even have had in-house design.
Right.
Yeah. Was that one of your first permanent gigs then?
Yes.
Fallon, after your placements?
One of those. We had that. We got that job at BNP, and then we went to Fallon straight after that, and that was the first thing we did at Fallon. We've only in a job 6 months when we did this.
Right.
So on that, how? Because if you go to BNP, that's like fucking one of the agencies to work at. But within a year, you decide to leave. Was that a big deal, or because was it Rich and Andy left and you followed them sort of thing?
We'd got our job there in July of that year. Rich and Andy had left to go and set up Fallon in the September of that year. They were the people that got us in. They were the people that got us hired. Once they left, we were like, oh, well, what does that mean for us? We're a bit, what are we going to do? That agency was full of sort of legends and legends in the making at the then. And once they'd gone, it was, I mean, very quickly they called us up and asked us to come to Fallon. And they were our advertising heroes. To work with them for 2 months was amazing. For them to want us to be part of their new agency was like even more so. Yeah. So as hard as it was to pull yourself away from BMP, it felt like the right thing to do.
And you go into an agency that's exciting, agile, set up, like, it's an exciting place to be at the beginning of a career. You're like, oh, great, here's an entrepreneurial team who are here to build the right team around them. So that's great.
And the level of learning you can't sort of underestimate, because you're not in a department of 30 in an agency of 500. You're in an agency of 10 people. Your creative directors sit right next to you. Yeah. And just by working with them so closely, you jump 5 years in 6 months.
There's no hiding, is there?
No,
is that a thing? Someone, I can't remember who told me it about, don't work for the agency, work for the people running the agency. Yeah. So that's, I suppose at the time Fallon was just, launching in the UK, but it was Rich and Andy, I spotted them at, tiny aside, I spotted them at Mike McKenna's funeral very sadly the other day. And then Walter Campbell was like 3 seats up. And if Tom had been there, it would have been literally, the 4 greatest creatives ever worked. There aren't superstars anymore. One thing I was going to ask, so you did this campaign and then you very kindly have also included in the deck a letter from the egg. This is made up.
There is such a thing
called the Egg Information Service. Who'd have thunk it? And I'll just pick out a couple of quotes: grossly misleading, denigrating to the UK egg industry. This is the best one: causing children to be confused and potentially upset. Andy, what would your mum say? I mean, surely that's a result.
That to you? Was it?
That was to Robert Senior, who was like the CEO at the time, one of the partners.
Result, right?
I mean, we loved that when we got that. I mean, I don't know.
It's like something off Not 9 O'Clock, a kind of comedy, the Egg Information Service.
That's someone's job. Who's it from? Amanda.
I looked her up on LinkedIn actually this week. Couldn't find her.
Oh, damn. Get her in.
It'd be good to know what Amanda was doing now.
But I mean, working for the chicken lot now, and she's doing it's fine.
No, certainly. She's moved on.
Chicken industry.
So another ace bit of work while you're at Fallon is One Extra. Street music. So I just got to say, when I saw, we're talking about posters, but when I saw the film, I was sort of completely blown away. It was like one of them sort of seminal moments in advertising in this country. And it was the sound, and it was like, whoa, and all of that. And every time you went, oh yeah, it's that one, those fuckers. That's brilliant. So we'll talk about posters in a minute, but how do you get to this? How did you get to this?
Firstly, thank you. But we were really aware of how important it was. It's like BBC launching One Extra was massive. This is 2002.
And Fallon have the BBC account. BBC in-house
we'd done a
exist.
lot of stuff on BBC.
Yeah, no BBC creative back then.
Nothing.
No,
amazing.
Before that. So remember, this is a response really to sort of pirate radio. And remember, this has happened before. 1967, Radio Caroline, BBC's Radio 1 starts, basically to play pop music.
Right.
Fast forward 35 years, you're doing it again because you've got a whole host of music that's hugely popular.
And you've had Kiss FM
Kiss
before
FM was
Tom
made
Wall.
legal in 90, I think.
Yeah, and Malcolm, yeah.
So this was, and also it was at that time where, you're talking about lots of music. You're talking about hip hop, you're talking about ragga, you're talking about dancehall, you're talking about R&B. There's a lot of music that sits under this. At the time, it was kind of big labelled as urban. Do you remember? That was urban music. And so we were like, well, you can't, there's so many genres of music. And this is how we came about it, because all we were trying to do was make sense of the breadth of music styles that sat under One Extra's remit. That weren't getting played on mainstream radio elsewhere. So I think we were just stumbling around it and going, well, is it, do you call it black music? Do you call it urban music? And we were like, well, it's all from the street. So really in doing that, all we were trying to do was create yet another label for music to sit under, the last thing music needs. And once we got to that, we were like, oh, right, okay, so it's music that comes from the street. And then we were really aware that the film needed to feel very, very authentic. It couldn't be preachy or selling, and they didn't want ad lines in it. It felt like it needed to be promo-y. So I knew how it wanted to feel. And then once we'd got street music, I was like, I don't know how, we were just talking about, well, sounds of streets, but not, it's the songs, not the actual sounds. And
should we watch a tiny bit of it? We'll put this on the website.
One Extra, a new digital radio station from the BBC dedicated to new black music.
Wow. So, quick question. I know we're going to get back to the billboards, but what came first? The film, the music, or how did you shoot it?
Interestingly, yeah. So Nick Gordon shot it. I don't think he'd shot an ad before that. I think he'd done short films and promos. We knew the idea. We the sounds of the streets had to be made from music. We'd been given 200 songs from One Extra to say, these are the big songs. These are songs that are going to be big this summer. These are the ones that, so there's your songs. Right. We went through those and we just went through and found hooks and bits and sounds that were just little snippets.
Reference the street
so we had
sound.
This pile of CDs like that. And they were just literally 0.1 second to 0.3 second.
So who was doing that?
Me. I did that. And then I went back and went, so I did loads of those and we had them. And then we shot the film. So we didn't shoot the film with any sounds in mind. The films were just shot. I guess the film was just shot to be real and authentic.
Yeah.
And then we'll add the sounds in.
Where did you shoot? Where was that?
That's all round Stockwell, Brixton.
You basically got little vignettes of stuff.
Yeah. Of real life.
And then was it Parv?
And then Parv got basically the edit that Joe Guest had done, and then the sound clips that I'd said load this lot in, and make sense of that, Parv. And somehow he did. And he was like, this one fits with this. There's one, I haven't got any sound for this one. The railings, I need something for the rail. There'd be things where you go, I haven't got anything for that.
So then they go and do pick-up shots.
No, we didn't do. So we only ever used what we shot.
Right, okay.
So I had to go and find the sounds for it. So that was when I asked the client, can I use older stuff? They're like, yeah, because remember, you've got the blanket BBC, you can use anything you like.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I can use Public Enemy. They're like, yeah,
anything from the archives.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because, okay, we'll put De La Soul on the swing then. So then that freed it up when we could use older music as well.
Right. That's interesting. Because now you might program a bit of AI to go and find all that, whereas you're just got this pile of seat, which I love because it feels as more heart and it's more authentic in a certain respect.
You'd probably do it. It'd be cleaner now, and it'd probably look. It's rough around the edge. It feels rough around the edges to me, but
yeah, it'll be a load of stock video of urban street and, like you said,
I don't know why the shot of the bikes and that sound is it's like a sort of moment in time
It's
for
a trigger
me.
memory for you.
Yeah, like I'm even getting a tingle now thinking about, because I remember saying to Adam, fucking hell, you can just do stuff like mad. You know, it has got an idea because, like you said, we treated it like a promo. It was from the streets. That's the idea. But the sound was like off the scale.
So bringing it to the posters. How did you get from... so film was first.
Yeah, I would say what's interesting about... What's great and bad about the BBC and the trails were like... Those trails are made, they only run on the BBC.
Yeah.
And they run after EastEnders. So there's you go back 20, whatever it is, years, and you go, okay, some of our audience are watching EastEnders. Nowadays, probably none of them would be watching EastEnders. But you sort of go, well, yeah, but that's not really all our audience aren't all watching EastEnders. They're our real audience for One Extra. Right. We need to be out where, what can we do? So out of home was like, well, we need to do things out on the street.
Yeah.
You need work that's out there as well, that everyone's going to see, particularly our audience. So we launched it around Carnival, around Notting Hill. So there were these out of home, which were obviously just like street signage with the names changed to words and lyrics from songs. We did the same with street signs as well. And we had them, do you remember? I mean, we used to have guerrilla, when you used to paste up, paste stuff and put stuff up. And we had loads of these street signs that were done like West London street signs with names of songs on.
They're just fly posted up.
That were just fly posts or like, plastic taped around lampposts and stuff, but they all got stolen during Carnival.
Was it past the Courvoisier? Was it?
Yeah, they had loads of lines like that. But
so these are song titles.
They're all song titles, yeah.
It's great. 'Cause it's very not. It doesn't look like a poster, and it's saying, which is sort of maybe that's really what the idea was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just about it had to feel real and gritty and
authentic. Were these shot at the same time as the film?
No, they were separate.
So who was it? Did you use one photographer or a whole load of them?
We used one photographer to do those. Okay. But I think we did that because we were aware that not everyone was going to see that film. And also, you haven't got social media. It's not going to get shared that way either.
Yeah.
So unless you're watching EastEnders, you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
So we had to get word out beyond, I think that's why we did it.
That's a great piece of work. We're going to move on to Mother. So you had Fallon for 5 years. Great time there, obviously. And then you went to Mother, but you'd already done a little stint there, is that right? Before?
We'd done a placement. When we were talking about that noodle thing at the beginning, we'd been at Mother directly before that placement at BMP.
Right, yeah. So you knew a little bit of the setup?
Yes, exactly. We'd been there a couple of weeks.
Oh, so you'd done the first poster at Mother? The thing at the top of the deck?
That was after.
Oh.
Well, the first thing we did at Mother was a Super Noodle ad that was made later. So we wrote a Super Noodle ad when we were at Mother for a week on placement. We then went to BMP and did that noodle thing.
Right. I got it.
Well, I mean, we were very close to being like...
Oh, the noodle guys, yeah.
The noodle guys.
What you said.
Get the noodle guys in.
We need a team.
Hey, we just want a new account. Oh, really?
Could they do spaghetti? Well, but hold on, wait a minute. On the noodle thing... Is it the one that I've been wanging on to you about or not? Is it the one that I said I liked?
Which one do you like?
The one is the Martin Freeman one.
The Martin Freeman one, yes.
Is that your
shirt?
Yeah.
Yes, that was the one.
So it's just very, very funny. I won't stay on it. I watched it this morning again. And I watched it several times the other day, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen because it's Martin Freeman, so he's a really good actor. He hadn't done anything at the time. Danny Kleinman shot it, the timing of it, and then it blames a baby, and the baby's face looks like a little bit of an old man. It's just everything about it. Did you shoot that when you got back, or they shot it for you?
They shot it for us. So Jan Elliott and Jim Hoskins, they were CDing it. They'd written some themselves, and they looked after it and they shot it and made it.
Okay.
That story comes from a Potsy story. I mean, when we were sitting around on placement, they'd already made one batch of Super Noodles ads. This was the second batch. And Potsy was telling me a story. I can't remember if it was a story he'd been told. I've got a feeling it was his brother or someone, family anyway. And it involved tipping over a tin of paint on the carpet and then feeling like, I'm going to be in trouble. And blaming the baby, picking the baby up, putting his feet in the paint and stepping the baby across the carpet. So that's where it came. We're like, and then, I don't know, we were laughing at that. It's a funny story. And then we're like, I don't know, can we make this can we do that with the noodles? And that was it then.
Yeah. Well, all listeners, you should go and watch it. It's called Shirt Super Noodles. Anyway, so you're at Mother. We're going to do a bit of a football thing now. Coca-Cola. And it was when they were sponsoring not the Premier League.
Everything underneath,
league,
the three below. So what's the Championship and League 1 and 2?
I'm looking at a client's wet dream. There are that's a lot of logos. But
Funny you say that. Because again, I mean, this is a running theme, but again, once we'd made that, it hadn't gone out, but we got one 48 sheet printed up and put on a site opposite the Coke building in Hammersmith on the roundabout. We all went down there. Again, there's 17 of us lined up across the road looking at this 48 sheet. Me and Potsy it's good. Like it. One of the clients leans over to us and goes, do you think it's branded enough? It's like there's 72 logos on there.
72.
Unbelievable.
What did you have a kind of
we laughed.
Innocent response?
Just one of those looks. I mean, we also got a question of later after that. We said, we're showing it around the office and there's a few too many blue ones, like they're a bit Pepsi-like. Oh, wow.
So they're personalised by club. So
we can't go. I mean, Cardiff have got a history of they change their colours. It's like we can't tell Tranmere they need to be red. It's like,
but you know, that's one person in the office going, feels a bit Pepsi-like. And I go, oh, really? I'm in trouble now.
Do you know what? For me, it looks like a really good poster of all the club's colours in Coke. That's what it looks like.
The clubs actually loved it. I mean, I think it might get a different reaction nowadays, as in, oh, what are you taking over football, taking over my club? But at the time, all the clubs, I mean, there were some clubs that made their own. Yeah. They absolutely loved it. It was in all their programmes, around their grounds, printed on their ground. They loved it. And because I think people understood a corporation and the branding and coming down to their level. And it was about showing support.
And that's, I saw something recently from the Uncommon team in Stockholm who did the tacos with Coke thing. You've seen that?
Yeah.
And it's like being associated with the thing. So football and Coke, massive sponsorship deal for the Football League to have Coca-Cola as the headline sponsor. So associating yourself with the football and with football fans, that's where they want to be. And they've got a history of doing it in everything they do now. It's like, it's Coca-Cola and X, whether it's the recycling thing, they did amazing stuff with the recycling with the hands, or that taco thing out of Uncommon. You're like, they're aware of their position in the culture of a city. Or
it's not like Budweiser doing it.
No.
Yeah. I remember go on.
But that was like, I mean, at the time, you got to remember, this is 10 years after the start of the inception of Premier League. Yeah. The very beginning of big money, nothing like it is now, coming into Premier League. And the very beginning of fans of particularly Premiership football falling out of love and going, I've had enough, I'm not interested. I can't afford that much money. Yeah. I'm going to go and watch a lower team. That was happening. And so that's why we got to that. The thing about the real league, obviously there's a nostalgic Coke real league, but it was just, we were just like, it's proper football. It's like football used to be, was what we kept saying to each other. It's not, it's like, it hasn't got any of that flash stuff about it.
I remember when they did Eat, Drink, Sleep, which was really good.
Yeah. Really great.
The blind guy at the West Ham game, that was great. Right, we're going to move on, just because we want to enjoy more stuff. So XFM found these, and then I realised there was more and more of them. And then
you asked me to put these in.
Yeah. So this is XFM.
Would you not have put these in?
Well, I don't feel complete ownership of this. This is like Ben Middleton, Stu Althwaite and John Cherry. And we got brought in later to sort of help guide it.
Oh, good.
So that we didn't but I can tell you about it.
No, because we always credit whoever needs to be credited.
Yeah, it's really important to credit everyone who works on it.
And John, so John, we are going to go to Atomic and do a special with John. In case you're listening, John wrote to me this morning. So hello, John. But tell us how it happened, because there's quite a lot of them. And
there's
they're all
a lot
beautifully
of them,
put
and they're
together.
all about the spirit of the nature of Christian O'Connell and that breakfast show. And I guess it's like the randomness of his chat. And they're really born of the stuff that was popular on that show at that time. You got to remember Carl Pilkington, I think, was his producer and a writer of that show. So the three of them, Ben, Stu and John, had all gone and spoken to Christian and Carl and would just like spent time with them talking about, which is where they got all these lines from.
I was going to say, so they came from...
They sort of came from either things they'd spoken about on the show or stuff they were just going, well, this would be funny. Our baby's just mini drunks, or the sharks like jazz. You know, there'd be all these things.
The irreverency of the conversations that they have anyway.
So one of the ones we're looking at, could a leech suck another leech dry? Very funny idea and thought. But then the guys before you, did they art direct them themselves, or did they give it to a lovely design department? How did that work? Exactly
the same, which I think maybe why we got brought in, because we had a bunch of lines. Mark Waite said to us, the guys have done these things. I think it's really funny. They've got tons of these lines. It's really funny. They just need it to come to life in its art direction and design. So I'd learned from Nando's. I'm like, well, I'm going to give this to someone that's amazing in that field. So we gave it to Harriman Seal. So Julian Harriman Dickinson did them all with his company in a very similar way to Adam Whitaker did Nando's.
Okay.
So we briefed them in a tighter way than I did Nando's, but at the same time, it was like they all need to feel like their own thing. They need a device that holds them all together, but they all want to feel like
it's a random thought process.
Exactly.
And it's
I quite like that little graphic, the elephant at the bottom.
Welcome to Christian's world. Yeah,
it's very sweet. I mean, it is of the time, like you say, isn't it? I remember these sort of things. This was quite good. I actually took me a little bit of time to get this. So it's a pie chart. It says cow, goat and sheep. And then the question is, when will the horse cheese be ready? I was looking at this the other night for ages going, what the fuck's horse cheese? Fucking idiot.
I mean, it's in the same bag as Nando's eggs, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that was them. That was the three of them and Carl and Christian. But
something wonderfully pop arty about the design, and
it's
just
I love the way they look.
That one.
I love the way they look.
Alsatians, what is their problem? And then there's lots of bones behind it. I mean, they're beautifully put together and
amazing.
You can hear Christian and Carl saying these things, right? It's like that's the conversation.
There's a touch of the kind of remember the Ben and Jerry stuff as well, the lines where they were just written and then they were just beautifully put together. The Cherry stuff. I remember we had Dave Masterman talked about them a bit. They were I don't know, we don't see enough of this stuff now. I love this.
You don't see stuff like this, but there's I mean, I love things I pick at the end are about copy and words. I mean, I love stuff that's copy and words, but I mean, I think I've got lots of examples of stuff here that I don't know, that have gone to another level because of the design in them and the art direction. And I never thought myself as a particularly good art director, but I learned from really, really good people. And I learned when to bring in, and that's the beauty of our business. You can bring in the best people. And they make you look good. The crafts people, the real crafts people.
I remember seeing a campaign once that Leo's did, and it said credited the typographer art director, and it was Paul Belford, but he wasn't working there. And I was thinking, oh, what can you do that? You know, and I think that's a reflection of the project or the company if they're open-minded enough to go and use someone. Whereas some people go, oh no, we can't take it outside the building. You know, we're all here, you know, and you're going, well, yeah, kind of, but you get directors to make films which aren't part
it's the same.
company.
We've always talked about it. The experts do their job. Ours is an out of home, and it's the same thing. We're
going to go away from next. We've talked about that. We're jumping on a bit now, and we're going to go to Saatchi's. So after Mother, you went to Saatchi's, where you and Potsy, you worked as ECDs into Paul Silburn and Kate Stanners. It's obviously very sad Paul is no longer with us, but it felt like quite a good fit, you and Potsy and Paul, because like your humour is sort of similar. Like you wrote the Mattison's Hank Marvin, The Walls, Dog in a Box. Was that a nice time when you were sitting there with Paul?
What was it like working with him?
Amazing. I mean, I think it chimes in with something you said earlier, which is about going for the people. We'd always done that. We'd gone to Fallon. Fallon are a legendary Minneapolis agency. We didn't know that. We went for Rich and Andy. Saatchi's was, we'd had a great time at Mother on placement, and we'd loved Robert and Mark, and we went back for them. And Saatchi's was the same with Paul. We wanted to work and learn from him. And we had the ability to sort of do that. And they brought us in, Kate and Paul brought us in as creative directors. That was our first gig as creative directors, really. And I mean, we got to make great work. I liked the romance of going to Saatchi's, being the sort of like the big sort of London agency.
Well, you can finally tell your mum where you're working.
She knew where I worked. She understood, and she could tell her friends where I worked, and they all knew what it meant. And they went, "Oh, Saatchi and Saatchi." It's the first time I'd had a job that my mum was actually like, "I know,
I've heard that.
I've heard of it."
Yeah,
funny. So when you were there, our paths crossed. So we're going to.
I should interview you about this.
No.
You were creative director on this job.
So we could just tell the story.
So let's flip. No, come on, let's flip it.
So Hugh, tell me about. Do you remember how this even came about? This idea. I mean, I think it's for Mary Curie. What we're looking at on the screen here. I like this. I'm trying to do your.
Yeah.
We're seeing the Piccadilly.
This is actually your interview for you replacing Hugh as a new season.
Yeah, come over.
What we're seeing there is the Piccadilly lights, and obviously they're all owned by different brands: Coca-Cola, Samsung, Hyundai.
Wow.
But they're all changed yellow for some reason. Tell me more about why they're yellow and what.
It's funny you asked me this, Andy, because I am very prepared. No, so what happened is, Andy, you did a great job because you finished it off. So I joined Saatchi's and I was running HSBC and it wasn't great. And then I remember saying to Kate, "Oh, it's not so good on HSBC, bro." And I thought she would say, "Oh, have a rest or do, And then she went, "Oh, just have another account." So she gave me another account, which is Marie Curie. And I was like, fucking hell, right. But, smaller, maybe a chance to do something. Anyway, long story short, we got to the time of year when the clocks go back, and I figured out that everyone's getting an hour free on every digital site in Britain.
We talked about it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And then we went, fucking hell, that's interesting. So we called it, everything has to have that hashtag, whatever, so hashtag the extra hour. And then it got going, and then I left. And then Andy Jex, what a lovely man. I don't know if you know Andy Jex. He's a really lovely chap.
We should get him in.
Here
he is. Look at this.
So you said, "Don't worry, I'll sort this out for you." And, I always hate those stories about people when they leave, people's names are taken off or people forget. You're not one of those people. You're actually made it even better. So I'm going to ask you, Andy, how did this go on? Because I remember you sent me this film.
Originally, the extra hour was just going to be, let's send the screen yellow for the hour.
Yeah. And then I think that didn't work out. And then they said, all right, we'll make our bit yellow. Is that right? Possibly. Because basically what happened is, listeners, the whole of Piccadilly Circus went. Marie Curie had a little bit at the bottom.
And let's just also to clarify a bit further, this is before the days of it now being one big screen. Is broken up into separate screens, and the advertisers on those screens used to have tenure, so they had they owned those billboards for a fixed period of time. So you didn't have what you have now, which is a rotation of lots of different advertisers. You have Samsung have their bit of the screen, McDonald's have their bit of the screen, Coca-Cola always had the top.
It's a clever, complex idea, and it's a media idea, isn't it? It's like when the clocks go back, there's free media for an hour, and the nurses who work the night shift are working another hour, basically unpaid.
Yeah.
So it's like this is really. I think Mark Campion was a creative on it. You worked,
Mark.
Wasn't he? Yeah. So Mark and you were doing this, and then it got to how we're going to execute it. And we had out of home things, but it was like, I think the Piccadilly lights was always the aim. But at that time, there were, I think, 6 brands. I've got it written here: Samsung, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Hyundai, and the Egyptian Tourist Board.
Yeah, there's always a tourist board on there, and they rotate that, didn't they?
Very good.
And I think when you've got complex ideas like that need explaining, the execution of it has to be so basic and simplistic, because there's a lot in this idea, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and so there was a lot of, so someone, namely Larissa Vince, who's credited as brand liaison on the credits, which is really funny, which basically meant phoning up, media and the brands that were on there saying, "Will you just go yellow for an hour?"
Yeah.
Eventually they did.
Yeah.
And
that's not an easy thing to do. Back then, Coca-Cola didn't like to change the logo, as you knew on the previous idea. McDonald's definitely wouldn't have wanted just a yellow M and without the red background. So it's not an easy thing to do. Samsung is known for being blue, and they wouldn't have wanted to do it without being convinced that it was a charity.
It's also very poignant for me, because I swim. Whenever I do my swims for cancer, I always do it for Marie Curie, because they looked after my mum at the end. So it's a kind of it's a really lovely story, and it was
Congratulations to you both for getting this through, because this is a fantastic piece of
Keep going. And there's a film there we'll put on the... now... we're laughing because I only found this last night and just before we came on air, Jexy told me this story. So it's a really cool picture of Potsy and Jexy in a Vauxhall Viva, we think, really blinged up, and across the top on the windscreen it says Potsy and Jexy. I'm just going to have to
dice on the rear view,
and this is the segue to you two going your separate ways, because after Saatchi's you left, and you're in your current job we're going to talk about, but I just wanted to ask what this image is about.
That image was about 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, our last day at Fallon, when we left. We'd been in the Southern 13 cantons. This is outside of it. Rich Flintham gave us some car keys as we were sitting in the pub and said, here. And we're like, why are you giving us keys? Look outside. Outside was a Vauxhall Viva with Potsy and Jexy on the front with neon strip round the bottom. It was our leaving present. And no one within about 100 metres of that car was fit to drive, so I think it sat there and got a ticket. But I mean, it really, really funny.
Great photo as well.
Where is it now?
It's no more. It's been recycled.
Oh, is it? Oh,
but it looks like a kind of a set-up photo, you know.
Very good.
Anyway,
though.
so I thought it was poignant because it was like, I want to talk about. So when you left Saatchi's. And then you went to TBWA, and that was you and Potsy going separate ways. Was that a hard thing, or was it you both sort of realised you'd had your own, you'd had your time and all that? Or?
Always hard, immensely difficult. 20 years is a long while. As you know, the relationship in a creative team is like a marriage. And it is always hard. I mean, very difficult. But I don't know, I felt like you look at the way the industry's going, you look at how many people are in those jobs in pairs, very, very few.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
So there's a sense of inevitability about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
had you talked about it up to that point as well? As you kind of, has it been...
Loosely around, we'd spoken about in the future.
Yeah, what are the agencies you would go to?
If we do another job, we probably won't do it together if it's a bigger one.
Yeah, because you've always got to do the old ×2 on the salary, which always when they go down the list they go, I only need 2 of these. He seems to do that meeting really well on his own. Just get rid of it. Okay, so we were going to, when you're at TBWA, we're going to just rattle through a couple of lovely campaigns. The first one is a Christmas campaign for Lidl, where you subverted posters which are already out there. Was this a difficult thing to get through? Because one of them says these aren't just any mince pies, these are, and then slapped across the top of it, our deluxe deep filled mince pies, and they're over £1 cheaper. It's really funny. But did you have to buy? How did you do it?
We did the M&S poster behind it as well, so we'd mock that up.
Did you ask them?
No.
But did
don't need to. The M&S branding's missing, and all you've written is these aren't just any mince pies, which is just a playback to what they say about there.
Yeah, that's it.
Great. It's great because then there's a follow-up one after that which says a Waitrose Christmas pudding matured for 6 months, something else, and then it goes, but ours has matured even longer and it's much cheaper. It's really childish, isn't it?
It's so basic, isn't it? It's a bit like the thing we showed at the very beginning with the arrow.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so sort of not dumb, but like gritty, and I don't know. It was done by a team. Simon Morris and Jeff Smith did that.
Oh, mate, those two.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
I'm always there for that level of pettiness as well, though. That's just like, I think you have to take that as the joke it's intended to be, right?
Yeah. It feels right for the brand, especially at the time. They're hugely proud of their food, especially at Christmas, and they want to sing about it. And, I thought it was a really great way of doing that.
I remember pitching EasyJet, after, the BA Look Up campaign where the kid is pointing at the planes going over. I remember pitching EasyJet saying, the BA flights are delayed more than often, more than your flights coming into the London airports. So you should do a playback on their campaign saying, oh, look, there's another delayed BA flight going over.
Right.
And it got quite close, but they chickened out. This is a brave client who goes, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take it to Waitrose and to M&S. Why not?
It's sort of quite British as well, isn't it? It's quite silly, and yet little. But they're not, are they? Where are Lidl from? Am I being thick?
Germany.
Germany, yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, that's...
Whereas Lidl and Audi,
Right.
it's like the Puma and Adidas thing. It's like two brothers, Germany, different
I didn't know
continent.
they
Is that right?
I don't know if they're brothers. I like to say the story they're brothers.
We can double check
have
that.
artistic license.
Right, we're going to move on. We've got a couple more. This one, Beck, how'd you say it?
Biko soap.
Steelar Staff. Tell us a bit about this, because I remember seeing this slapped on a huge billboard once, and then I heard it won at Cannes, and it was just like, wow, it was such a cool positioning. Steelar Staff, what a great idea. Tell us a bit about that campaign. I know, because it wasn't just billboards, but they were part of it, weren't they?
They were a part of it. It was very sort of multimedia, that campaign. I think the heart of that campaign came from actually the product, the packaging, because there was no media as such at the beginning. So we were, highlighting the disability employment gap, because there are soap made in a factory in Chinkford that's made up of 80% of people that are blind. There's guide dogs on this factory floor. I mean,
Wow.
it's incredible production line to witness. Incredible. So we thought we'd already done campaigns to get them listed. They were in 720 stores. They were in Boots, they were in Tesco's, they were in Waitrose. They were everywhere. We're like, the thing is, your packets are on those shelves. It's like, you're not going to pay for media, but do you know what? If we could do something on those. So we all started from the packaging. Yeah. Well, and then someone came up with the idea of stealing. Well, the thing is like other brands don't hire people of disability. What's the problem? Why won't they do it? How do we get people to do it? And it felt like a David and Goliath thing. It's like, if a little company like you of 80 people in Chinkford
have made a
can
successful
hire,
business,
like with a majority of people like that, why can't all these big ones as well? So and someone just said, do you know what? They should just steal our stuff and show how good they are. We're like, well, here we go. And it was sort of thrown away, but it was like, wow, that's the thing to do. If we put the CVs of the people put the CVs of our staff on the packaging and tell the world about how brilliant they are. And the hardest conversation was talking to the staff and going, we're not putting you in the shop window. We're not trying to get rid of you. Which was,
because some of them will be like, I like my job in Chinkford, thanks.
But we weren't trying to do that. And they got it, but it took a while to sort of explain that.
It's really good. I love it. And I love the way, don't eat eggs, steal our stuff. They're throwaway thoughts, which are just in between that relaxing and not thinking too hard. That moment when creatives or people just go, what about, and it's lovely, isn't it? Just, there you go. Must have been a nice moment when you got there and, oh, that's good.
They're like what I always call like pub conversations. And I think you can realise pub conversations now in the world that it is much better than you could before. And they're things where people would throw away and go, oh, you can't do that. That's funny. Isn't that funny? And no one does anything with it. You can do stuff with most of that now. Yeah. And I think that's all they are. They're examples of conversation where you go, that's good, that's funny. And then it dies in the moment. Yeah. Because it's not around a formal setting of like, write that down, write that on the whiteboard. That's an idea. It's like, it's just that. Yeah. But you've got to just having the right mind to go, no, hold on a minute. Why can't we do that?
I was talking about this the other day with hybrid working and people, less pub time for sure. They go to the pubs on Fridays now. They're not as busy as they used to be after Friday after work. Are we missing some of that conversation, the stuff that happens outside of the office where you just shoot in the breeze, talking shit and goes, oh, actually, I should. Yeah,
I think you're right. It's that I always found it, when you've done a meeting with a director or with a creative team and you come out and someone says, what about that? But you don't get that on a call. You go, see you then, and off you go. And
it's formalised. And that when we came back to the office, it made us sort of at TBWA, it made us think about, well, we're going to have to sell it. We're going to pitch it to the agency. Why did we come back to the office? What's the office for? Yeah. And we came down to one thing, and it was that. It was like those inopportune moments, those conversations out of the meeting room, around the coffee, around the water cooler things, chatting shit, talking about last night's TV. Yeah. That informs so much of the best work we do in all of our roles. And we're like, right, okay, that means if we come back, it's going to have to be everyone at once, not so-and-so on Monday, so-and-so on Friday. It's like we'll all come back on the same day together. That's
what we... I was talking to someone who works in recruitment, and she was basically saying there's a massive skills gap. And because a younger generation who had just come fresh into the workplace, into hybrid working, the hockey stick of learning is the shallower learning curve, because spending more time on their own and not as much in the office. And I think that would be the concern for our creative industry, is that, you know, for younger creators, maybe want to be in 5 days a week and get the benefit of learning from the people that we all did over that.
What is your
that time in the office?
What's TBWA's policy? Is it you in 5 days a week now, all the time?
No, we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but we all come in on those days as opposed to split over different days.
Yeah.
Let's go for some Jaffa cakes, shall we? So it's just a brilliant strategy, bit of silliness, but based around truth. When we were coming down the stairs and you were telling me something about how did this start? Because
it's a long running debate, right?
Because I'm not a massive Jaffa cake fan. Oh God, have I said the wrong thing?
Were you lying to me when you told me you liked that cola one at the beginning?
No, it's okay. But you know, okay, here's the truth. When they get bought in our house, they go in the cupboard and they're all eaten within. My wife and I got two girls. They eat things. You'll get Maryland cookies, Jaffa's, anything, and they all go like that.
Oh, my missus loves Jaffa cake.
So I never get them, but I get my own homemade flapjacks because no one else eats them. But tell me about this
campaign. This is Paul Jordan, our ECD. This is his campaign. He directed this.
Hello, Paul. We love Paul, by the way.
Paul,
love Paul.
And the creative team are Mark Owens and Matt Tassel. So again, this is my agency, but this is not my direct work. You know, it's very much their creative minds. But yes, this is a cultural thing, debate that's gone and raged for years and years and years. Is it a cake? Is it a biscuit? Britain loves it. We love it. We love arguing about it. We love how petty it is. It's like
Marmite is exactly the same thing.
Great.
Right? It's like, is it love it, hate it, and you can have the same conversation in the pub 20 times and get different answers.
And we stoked the debate, or brought the debate back up to the public eye. There was I think it was at Cyndi Lauper at Glastonbury. There was like, it's a Jaffa cakes, a biscuits flag. You know, just getting it back in. There were some reality TV celebs that had it's a cake or it's a biscuit, just to get the debate back top of mind before we broke the campaign. Because the campaign was about drawing a line in the sand, about committing to being one or the other. The brand had never really come out. I mean, yes, it had bathed in the glory of the debate one way or the other, but it had never gone, apart from it being in the name, it's one or the other. Now there's like, it's obviously it's in the name, but people always go, yeah, but it's in the biscuit aisle.
That's the thing. That's always the conversation, right? It's in the biscuit aisle. It's in the wrong place. It's got an identity crisis.
I literally don't know. You're so much more engaged than it. You're into it, Mike.
Yeah. I love Jaffa cake.
But there was to your point earlier, there was a legal case many years ago, and when they proved that they were cakes, because when cakes go stale, they go hard. And when biscuits go stale, they go soft. And obviously Jaffa cakes, they go hard.
Did someone actually bring that case to court?
Yeah.
Was it Jaffa cakes themselves?
I don't know, because I think it was a case around VAT, because you pay less VAT on a fresh product.
Oh, right. Okay. Interesting.
Well, I think it's great. And they're beautiful posters. They're really nicely put together. I love the language. There's one here where it says, "Stand here if you think it's a cake. Stand here if you're an idiot." But they're great. They've got that irreverent tone of voice. It's very ownable, isn't it? And you can do great campaigns with a massive pack if your campaign has got the right sort of foundation.
If you've got the edge and the impact to go, "We're a cake, you biscuit," or "Stand here if you're an idiot," then if you're doing it in that tone, it's like people don't mind that it's advertising. I don't mind. I need to know what it's for. I don't mind being salty if you're going to entertain me like that.
And also it does do, just on a slightly, your thing about looking at posters from distance. I remember Paul Arden saying, do you know what it is from 100 feet? The way these are art directed, that's a Jaffa cake ad. Yeah. Look at the way they're art directed. They're beautiful. So kudos to Paul and the team.
Well, they launched that with, there's a mural in Manchester. They're made in Stockport, where the factory for Jaffa is. And that got defaced, as in the cakes got crossed out and it was written, biscuits were written over the top of it.
Great.
So then obviously we repainted it back and put cakes over the top. But that's sort of the thing that sort of sparked it all. That was like, that's a bit like the final straw.
Yeah.
Our mural's been defaced.
Right, mate. Oh, it's been so good. We could talk more and more. We're down to your favourite poster, and there's a couple of options, one of which He's saying this is print, is it?
Well, that must be a print ad. I mean, it's even got like the margin down the middle, but it looks like it's a 48 sheet format. It's not a...
Well, we can talk about it. It's your show.
I love that line. I've read that line 1,000 times in my life.
Read it out to us, Andy.
Somewhere on an aeroplane, a man is trying to rip open a small bag of peanuts, as we see a man on the open road on his Harley Davidson riding to freedom.
Lovely.
I just thought the specificity of summing up confinement and frustration it done by that little foil bag of nuts on a plane is so beautiful. It's
finally
so
get it open,
funny.
they go everywhere.
Yeah.
To find a moment like that everyone goes, that I've done that, that's funny, that's true.
Yeah.
To try and then sort of, sell the emotion of Harley on the back of that.
It's really
I love
clever.
that. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's brilliant because you have to fill it. You have to fill in a bit, but when you do, it's much more rewarding, isn't it? They haven't served it all up for you. Likewise, I know this comes out. I fucking love this. Swiss Life. Some of the greatest headlines. I'll read one. I never want children are great. I love my house now belongs to my ex-wife. Do you want to read the last one, Andy?
You're the only woman I love a man now. I said to you about sort of headlines and what. I mean, this is like a great example. It's so smart. It's so quick. It's for an insurance brand, and it's
clever, isn't it?
So clever,
I remember
so
Five
funny.
Live. I don't know if you were there.
Yes.
They did a similar thing.
Football's on.
Yeah.
Can't football's on.
Yeah. And
that's before this.
They crashed
That
lines
is before,
together. Yeah. There you go. And then, of course, if you've got one more,
I love these. These are so good. I'm sure you've spoken about these before. I think they're so beautiful. They're KFC. They're probably done. Are they done post-pandemic, during pandemic? People licking fingers at a time when everyone was sanitising.
It was Anna and her husband Hemeti.
Sorry.
Funny thing was, she came on very proud of them because they had just done them and they looked fucking great. And it just happened. And then they had to take them down. Did they? Or I think that anyway.
Didn't it go up on Piccadilly and then come down?
Yeah. But then they got them up later. But they're just beautifully shot, aren't they?
They're so well shot. They're so I spoke about the lines on the other thing, but I think that just the way they're shot, the way the brand is integrated into the photography rather than it being supered.
And everyone knows the bit that's missing, right? It's such a line that's iconic to KFC.
There's no end line. It's like that even less is even more thing we talk about quite a lot. Okay. Any tips for people wanting to write great posters, great work, or just, just tips on life, Andy?
How to win at life.
I don't know. I mean, it's all about impact, isn't it? And it's like, I think for me, whatever kind of advertising I'm doing or the kind of stuff I like stuff that's got a wit or a humour to it. I think it stays with people. I think it lasts longer. It's more memorable. I like stuff that's got a friction or a rub, something that's sort of like, and it's the hook that grabs me and makes me look at it again or read it again or pay more attention. Sometimes that thing, if it's counterintuitive, you mentioned a couple earlier, why would you do that? Why would you say that? They're the things that grab people and make people, and they're just a few of the tricks you can sort of use, but it's all about gaining that sort of impact and that, just that memorability and just having a bit of friction or a rub against either what society says or believes or what they, I think that's
I think it's why political advertising is always done really well.
Yeah.
Because they have that thing. They are, it's rooted in a bit of friction because not everyone's voting the same way.
Well, I think your stuff is full of friction and rubs, so thank you very much.
I think the other thing that's definitely come out today as a theme is when you do move agencies, is going for the people that you're going to be working with and learning from, because that is, we all have careers and we've moved around and worked on different projects, but you go to work at the agency where the people are going to help you to your next step. I think it's a great tip to have for anyone who's thinking about change.
I think that's I'm trying to do a shit football analogy. Don't go and sign for United just yet. If Ferguson was at United, I'd go.
Wait till Ten Hag goes.
But and like you say, in any walk of life, it's not the name above the door doesn't dictate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's the guy, he walks in every other day, like you say, if it's Rich and Andy sitting next to you. I remember going actually working for Droga at Saatchi's, and it was just mind-blowing. It should have just been called Droga because everything was his thing. It was under the auspices of Saatchi's, but he had this power. Blimey, we could go on and on.
Brilliant.
Andy, thank you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Loved it. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Oh, that was lovely, wasn't it?
I love a Jaffa cake, actually.
Yeah. What?
Those cola ones are really nice.
Yeah, the cola.
I might have another one.
Oh, what about my bloody...
Yeah. Flapjacks are good. Jaffa cakes are amazing. John really likes listening to me.
Yeah.
Mouthful.
So Jexy was lovely, wasn't he? He was a really great guest to start this new season, this autumnal season for Behind the Billboard.
By the way, just to wrap up on football.
Yeah.
I was just asking him, and I said, "You're from Enfield. How are you not a Spurs fan?"
Right, okay.
That is Spurs territory, right?
Right. What was any response?
He said, "You know what? When he was at school, the class matches were always Spurs against Arsenal and the rest."
Right.
Obviously, in the era that we all grew up in, there's loads of Liverpool fans, there's a few Man United fans, not many, and Arsenal fans. But he said the majority of kids in school were Spurs fans. And his dad is a Spurs fan, and his two sisters are Spurs fans.
Oh my God, what's happened?
He defected.
Right. Just to be a bit of a rebel?
Maybe it's about it's the friction that he was talking about at the end there on the tips.
My dad was a Liverpool fan, so I went against that. So I suppose it might be in your blood, but he's a lovely guy, isn't he? He's great. He's got so many stories. Just so affable and lovely. I could have chatted more and more. I mean, we had loads of chat before we came on air about.
I think he remembers everyone he worked with and credits the right people on campaigns. Our job in advertising is we're collaborators, right? Not one person or one agency owns the thing that you end up doing.
Well, that thing with the Marie Curie thing, joking apart, I was quite humbled that he put it in. I'd forgotten. And then I had left halfway through the process, and he fucking took it on and made it.
I remember us having the conversation about the extra hour before you left.
Yeah.
I was gutted that we didn't get to do it.
Oh, honey. Well, here we are together in the studio. Anyway, look, so thank you once again, Andy, and thanks Soho Radio for having us.
Yeah, and to Grand Visual and Talon for sponsoring us.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. Anyway,
what we got coming? We've got some
more people
guests
coming. Yeah, we've got some more guests. We've got Dan Watts coming. We've got Mary Weir. We've got a special atomic
coming.
And something. So loads of stuff coming up, guys. So please stay tuned. Keep following us. Keep liking us. Keep direct messaging us.
Keep
whatever you want to say.
DMing us.
Yeah.
Slide in. Slide right in.
Okay, I'm going to leave there. Bye.
Bye.